You know that line on your pay stub, Social Security? We all see it, we all pay into it, but what is it really? Well, it's way more than just a retirement plan, and honestly, misunderstanding it can be pretty costly. So let's unpack one of the most important and maybe most confusing financial systems in the country. Okay, right out of the gate, if you remember just one thing from this whole explainer, please make it this. Social Security is designed to supplement your savings. It does not replace them. Thinking this is your entire retirement plan is probably the single biggest mistake you can make, and it can leave you in a really tough spot financially. All right, let's tackle the biggest myth head on. Most people hear Social Security and they immediately think retirement fund, period. But that is a huge and kind of dangerous oversimplification. Believing that can leave you totally unprepared for some of life's other curveballs. So if it's not just for retirement, what else is it for? Yeah, retirement income is a huge piece of the puzzle, for sure. But look at this. It's also a form of disability insurance, and it provides survivor benefits for your family if you were to pass away unexpectedly. There's even a small lump sum death benefit. See? It's not a one-trick pony. It's a really broad social insurance program that's designed to cover you through several major life events. So to really get why it's structured this way, we've got to go back in time. We need to look at where it came from. Because this whole system didn't just appear out of nowhere, you know? It was actually forged in a period of massive national crisis. We're talking about the Great Depression. I mean, a time that left millions of Americans completely wiped out, financially devastated. So in 1935, the Social Security Act was signed into law, and the whole point was to create a foundational safety net, a basic level of protection, so that if a crisis like that ever happened again, working families wouldn't be hit quite so hard. Okay, so it provides all these different benefits. That's great. But where does the cash actually come from? Good question, right? Let's follow the money. The answer is an acronym you've definitely seen on your pay stub. FICA. Ever wondered what that meant? Well, it stands for the Federal Insurance Contributions Act, and you can think of it as the engine that powers this entire system. It's that specific payroll tax that's collected to fund both Social Security and Medicare. So who's paying into this? Well, pretty much everyone who works. The way it works is the cost is split right down the middle between you and your employer. You both kick in 7.65% of your earnings. Now, if you're self-employed, you kind of have to play both roles, so you cover the whole 15.3%. And this is really important. It's a pay-as-you-go system. The money from today's workers is what's funding the benefits for today's retirees. It's a continuous cycle. Okay, let's fast forward a bit. Say you're receiving benefits. The big question is, do you have to pay taxes on them? And the answer is, well, it's a classic maybe. It all depends on your other income. If your adjusted gross income is over a certain amount, yeah, a part of your benefits might be taxed. But here's the good news. No matter how much you make, at least 15% of your Social Security benefits will always be income tax-free. All right, so just because you're paying those FICA taxes doesn't mean you automatically get a golden ticket for every single benefit. Nope, you actually have to earn what the system calls an insured status. So how does that work exactly? For most of us, this is the number you need to remember. 40. That's the magic number. To be considered fully insured, which is what you need to unlock the big benefits like retirement, you have to earn 40 quarters of coverage. Now, what's a quarter of coverage? It basically translates to about 10 years of work over your lifetime. But it gets a little more nuanced. There are actually two different ways to be covered. You've got fully insured, which is what we just talked about. That's based on your long-term, 10-year-ish work history. But then there's currently insured, and that's all about your recent work. You can think of this one as a safety net, especially for the families of younger workers who just haven't been in the workforce long enough to hit that 10-year mark. Let's break this down. To be fully insured, you need those 40 quarters, and that's the key that unlocks retirement and survivor benefits. For disability, there's a little asterisk there. You also need to have worked recently. Now look at currently insured. You only need 6 quarters of work within the last 13 quarters, so pretty recently. But here's the kicker. Look at the huge difference in what you get. This status only unlocks some limited survivor benefits. The takeaway here is that both how long you've worked and how recently you've worked really matter. Okay, so let's say you've done the work, you've qualified. Awesome. Now for the million-dollar question, or maybe not quite a million-dollar question, how much will you actually get? Let's get into how they calculate your payout. It all boils down to a two-step formula that uses a couple of key acronyms. First, the system calculates your AIME. Then it uses that AIME to figure out your PIA. I know, it sounds like alphabet soup, but trust me, the idea behind it is actually pretty straightforward.
So, AIM. That stands for Average Indexed Monthly Earnings. And what that really is the system's way of looking at your lifetime earnings fairly. It's not just a simple average. It takes your highest earning years and then, this is the important part, it adjusts them for inflation. So the money you made, say, 30 years ago is given the same weight as the money you make today. It just levels the playing field for your whole career.
Okay, so once your AMI is calculated, they plug it into a formula to get your PIA, or primary insurance amount. Now this is the number you really want to pay attention to. Your PIA is basically your full 100% retirement benefit. It's what you are entitled to get if you wait until your full retirement age to start collecting. And per our source material, that full retirement age is 65.
But, what if you don't want to wait until you're 65? The system actually lets you start taking retirement benefits as early as age 62. So, what's the catch? There's got to be a catch, right?
Oh yeah, there's a catch, and it's a big one. Here's the trade-off. If you wait until your full retirement age, 65, you get your full 100% benefit, your full PIA. But if you jump the gun and start collecting at the earliest age, 62, your benefit gets cut to just 80% of what it would have been. And here's the really crucial part. That reduction is permanent. It's not temporary, it lasts for the rest of your life. So yeah, it's a huge decision with a massive financial impact.
So after all of that, all the numbers and acronyms, let's bring it all back to that main idea from the very beginning. The absolute best way to think about Social Security is to see it as the foundation of a house. It's solid, it's essential, you need it to build on. But it was never, ever meant to be the entire house.
Remember, the whole program is designed to supplement everything else you're doing, your savings, your investments, your other insurance. It's that basic layer of protection. So the real takeaway here, the question I want to leave you with, is this. Now that you understand how this critical foundation works, what are you going to do to build the rest of the house?